There is a very common idea that sounds logical at first, that the human body seeks well-being, comfort, pleasure, balance, calm. But this idea, as popular as it is wrong. The body was not designed to seek well-being, it was designed to seek predictability. And understanding this completely changes the way you interpret fatigue, anxiety, resistance to change, and even self-sabotage. The body does not want the best possible scenario, it wants the familiar one, even if that scenario is uncomfortable, even if it is exhausting, even if it is unhealthy, because to the body, what is familiar feels safer than what is ideal. This logic is not psychological, it is biological, it is evolutionary. For thousands of years, the human body did not need to be happy. It needed to survive, and survival meant being able to predict the environment, knowing what comes next, recognizing patterns, anticipating risk. Well-being was never the priority. Predictability was. That is why the body adapts to unhealthy routines, to draining relationships, to stressful environments, to negative emotional states, not because they are good, but because they are familiar. The body learns quickly what repeats. It adjusts hormones, muscle tone, heart rhythm, and breathing based on what happens every single day. If stress is constant, it becomes the baseline. If tension is frequent, it becomes the reference. If anxiety is recurrent, it becomes the default state. The body does not ask whether this feels pleasant. It asks whether this feels predictable. That is why, when you try to change, something strange happens. The mind decides to change, but the body resists. You want to rest, but the body stays alert. You want to slow down, but the body does not relax. You want to leave an old pattern, but you feel a physical discomfort that is hard to explain. This is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is not a lack of willpower. It is the body trying to preserve predictability. To the nervous system, change means uncertainty, and uncertainty means risk. Even when rationally the change is positive, even when the new situation is objectively better, the body does not operate on logic. It operates on repetition. It trusts what it already knows. There is a common mistake in personal development, believing that deciding is enough, deciding to change habits, deciding to be different, deciding to improve. The mind decides quickly, the body does not. The body needs time to learn that the new pattern is safe. Until then, it will try to pull you back, not out of sabotage, but out of protection. That is why many people return to old behaviors even after fully understanding that they are harmful. Understanding does not automatically reprogram the body. The body responds to what is stable over time, and stability to the body means predictability. This mechanism explains why some people feel strange when things finally start going well. They solve problems, they improve their lives, they create more comfort, and still, they feel restless. Not because something is wrong now, but because the body is still calibrated to an old scenario. It expects tension, it expects threat, it expects excessive effort. When that does not happen, the body goes on alert. Silence becomes uncomfortable. Calm feels suspicious. Tranquility feels like risk. The body does not immediately recognize the absence of stimulation as safety. It recognizes it as something unfamiliar. That is why many people stay constantly busy, not because they enjoy it, but because the body feels safer in overstimulation than in emptiness. Emptiness is not predictable for someone who lived in constant tension. Another important point is that the body does not distinguish between good predictability and bad predictability. It only distinguishes between predictability and unpredictability. An emotionally unstable environment, as long as it is consistent, can feel safer to the body than a calm environment that is new. This helps explain why some people remain in situations they have already outgrown mentally. The body has not caught up yet. It still associates that pattern with survival. Changing this requires more than intention. It requires safe repetition. It requires gradual exposure to the new state. It requires enough time for the body to learn that the new scenario is not a threat. That is why well-being cannot be imposed. You do not convince the body to relax. You teach it. And teaching the body is different from explaining things to the mind. The body learns through repeated experience. That is why real change is often slow, not because you are slow, but because the body is cautious. It does not move at the speed of ideas. It moves at the speed of safety. When people say they are tired for no clear reason, it is often not a lack of energy. It is the body sustaining an old state that no longer makes sense mentally. Maintaining predictability consumes energy, especially when the pattern no longer matches your current life. This internal conflict creates exhaustion. The mind wants one thing, the body maintains another, and fatigue appears as a signal of misalignment. Understanding that the body does not seek well-being but predictability brings relief. You stop blaming yourself for not changing fast enough. You stop attacking yourself for feeling resistance. You stop turning natural biological processes into personal failure. The body is not behind. It is being careful. When you respect that, change becomes possible, not through force, but through consistency, by creating small signals of safety in the new pattern, by repeating simple behaviors, by keeping stable rhythms, by avoiding abrupt oscillations. Gradually, the body learns, and when the body learns, it stops resisting. Well-being then does not appear as a goal. It appears as a consequence, not because you chased happiness, but because you created predictability in a healthier state. Maybe the real mistake is trying to change too fast. The body does not trust sudden shifts. It trusts what remains. That is why the path is not to force comfort. It is to build safety. And safety to the body comes from calm repetition. When you understand this, everything changes. Frustration decreases. Internal pressure drops. The process gains rhythm. The body is not against you. It simply needs to know that the new path will not put you at risk. And when it learns that, it follows, without struggle, without sabotage, without resistance. Maybe the body was never seeking well-being. Maybe it was always seeking something simpler and more essential, predictability. And when you stop fighting that, the path becomes clearer, not faster, but more honest. If this content resonates with you, subscribe to the channel to keep exploring how the human body really works.